As a doctor who has spent decades working closely with seniors and couples navigating the complex emotions of aging together, I have seen a pattern that many women experience as they grow older alongside their husbands. It's not a simple matter of love fading or attraction dying. It's deeper, rooted in emotional neglect, unspoken frustrations, and a shifting sense of self. When women begin to resent their husbands as the years pile on, it's often because of layers of unmet needs, disappointments, and sometimes misunderstandings that build like silent storms. This is not a condemnation of husbands or wives, but a call to understand the emotional landscape that aging couples traverse. I want to share 7 key reasons why women may begin to harbor resentment toward their husbands as they age, and also offer guidance on how to address these issues thoughtfully, backed by research and practical insight. First, there is the issue of emotional invisibility. As women age, their emotional needs often change, but many husbands do not keep pace. Research in the Journal of Marriage and Family reveals that emotional support in long-term marriages can decline over time if partners do not actively work on their connection. Women who once felt cherished may find themselves feeling unseen and unheard. This isn't necessarily because their husbands don't care, but often because men tend to communicate differently, sometimes less openly, about feelings. When a woman feels invisible in her own marriage, it plants a seed of resentment that can grow quietly but persistently. She might feel that her experiences, her struggles with aging, health, or even her dreams and disappointments no longer matter to the man she once trusted deeply. Fixing this requires intentional emotional engagement. Couples can benefit from carving out time just to listen without judgment. It sounds simple but is powerful. Asking questions, showing curiosity about her feelings, and validating them even when they don't make immediate sense to him is a crucial step. Second, physical intimacy changes can deeply affect women's feelings toward their husbands. This is a sensitive but vital area. Studies from the North American Menopause Society have documented that hormonal changes, health conditions, and medications impact women's libido and physical comfort. When husbands fail to acknowledge these changes or show impatience, women feel rejected or misunderstood. It's important to remember that for many women, intimacy is not just physical but emotional and psychological. If a woman feels pressured or disregarded, her resentment is almost inevitable. The fix here is communication and adaptation. Couples who explore new ways of connecting physically and emotionally without pressure often find renewed closeness. This may mean redefining intimacy altogether, focusing more on affection, touch, and emotional sharing rather than just sexual activity. Third, the division of labor in the household can become a flashpoint. Women who have shouldered the burden of managing a home, caregiving, and emotional labor often feel exhausted as they age, especially if their husbands do not step up. Research by the Pew Research Center shows that even in modern marriages, women continue to do more unpaid labor at home. When this imbalance persists over decades, it breeds frustration and bitterness. The woman may feel taken for granted and invisible not only emotionally but practically. She might be juggling her own aging challenges alongside these responsibilities. Addressing this is about fairness and partnership. Couples need honest conversations about sharing tasks. Sometimes the husband may not realize the cumulative toll of these duties. Practical steps like dividing chores or hiring help can lift the load and relieve resentment. Fourth, women often resent when their husbands fail to grow emotionally or intellectually alongside them. Aging is a time of reflection, reassessment, and often growth. Many women find joy in pursuing new interests, education, or personal development. When their husbands resist change, cling rigidly to old routines, or dismiss these pursuits, women feel stuck and frustrated. Psychologists call this stagnation a significant source of marital dissatisfaction. One study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that couples who support each other's personal growth report higher satisfaction in later life. Encouraging each other to learn, grow, and explore new things keeps the relationship dynamic and respectful. If a husband shows interest and support in his wife's passions, resentment often fades. Fifth, financial stress or disagreement often exacerbates resentment as couples age. Money is a common source of tension in marriages at any age, but the stakes can feel higher in retirement or when healthcare costs rise. Women who feel excluded from financial decisions or perceive their husbands as reckless with money may develop deep mistrust and anger. Research by the American Psychological Association highlights how financial disagreements can erode intimacy and trust. Transparency and shared decision-making about finances can repair this breach. Couples should work together to create budgets, plans, and goals that respect both partners' values and needs. Even simple openness about fears or hopes related to money can reduce resentment. Sixth, unmet expectations about caregiving roles in old age often fuel resentment. Women frequently anticipate that their husbands will share the emotional and physical labor of caring for aging parents or even themselves. When husbands withdraw or fail to provide the support expected, women may feel abandoned or burdened unfairly. Studies show that women provide the majority of caregiving in families, which can lead to exhaustion and bitterness. Communication about these roles and clear agreements are essential. Couples who discuss what they each are willing and able to do and who seek outside support or respite services often find more balance and less resentment. Lastly, the loss of shared dreams and the impact of grief can weigh heavily on women's hearts. As couples age, they may face the loss of friends, family members, and even parts of their own identities. Women may resent their husbands if they perceive him as emotionally distant during these difficult times or if he processes grief differently. Research published in Aging and Mental Health shows that how couples cope with loss together greatly influences their emotional connection. Empathy and shared mourning can bring couples closer, but if one partner withdraws or minimizes feelings, resentment grows. Encouraging open expression of grief and seeking counseling if needed can heal these wounds. In all these areas, the common thread is communication, empathy, and partnership. Resentment is often a symptom of disconnection rather than a sign of failure. When couples choose to listen deeply, respect each other's evolving needs, and work together, they can transform frustration into renewed love. This journey is not easy, but profoundly rewarding. As a doctor, I have seen couples who, in their 70s and 80s, rediscover tenderness and companionship they thought was lost. It requires courage to face these difficult truths and willingness to change old patterns. But the payoff is a relationship where both partners feel seen, valued, and loved despite the inevitable challenges of aging. How can couples rebuild emotional connection? After years of drift, when couples have been together for many years, it is not uncommon to find themselves drifting apart emotionally. This drift is not necessarily dramatic or explosive. Often it creeps in quietly, like a slow erosion of the bond that once felt unbreakable. I have met many seniors who describe their marriages as distant or routine, where communication has thinned out and the emotional warmth has faded. The question then becomes how to rebuild that emotional connection after years of growing apart. This is not just a hopeful idea. It is something entirely possible and supported by research. Understanding the reasons behind the drift and taking intentional steps can restore closeness and trust, even after decades. The first thing to acknowledge is that emotional drift happens naturally when life becomes busy and responsibilities take center stage. Careers, children, health challenges, and daily routines consume so much energy that couples stop prioritizing each other emotionally. Studies from the Journal of Family Psychology show that couples who maintain regular, meaningful emotional interactions tend to have higher relationship satisfaction as they age. The challenge is that as time goes on, couples may lose the habit of emotional sharing. This means they stop talking about feelings, hopes, fears, or even the small daily things that matter to them. Rebuilding starts with recognizing this pattern and making a conscious choice to reconnect emotionally. One of the most powerful tools couples have is simply to listen to each other without judgment. This may sound basic, but it is incredibly effective. Listening means giving your full attention, setting aside distractions like phones or television, and allowing your partner to express their thoughts and emotions freely. Psychologists call this active listening. Research in clinical psychology shows that couples who practice active listening report feeling more understood and less lonely in their marriages. When a partner feels truly heard, it opens a door to vulnerability and trust. This can break down walls built by years of silence and misunderstanding. It is essential that this listening is not about fixing or solving problems right away, but about validating the other person's experience. Another important step is to share experiences together that foster connection. Couples often think that simply living under the same roof is enough to keep them close, but shared activities create opportunities for bonding. According to a study published in the Journal of Marriage and Family, couples who engage in new or meaningful activities together report increased relationship satisfaction and emotional closeness. This does not require extravagant outings or expensive vacations. Simple actions like taking a walk, cooking a meal together, or revisiting a shared hobby can reignite the sense of partnership. The key is the quality of the time spent together. Making moments that are free from distractions and focused on each other rebuilds intimacy. Forgiveness plays a crucial role in this process. Over many years, couples accumulate grievances, disappointments, and sometimes hurts that are never fully addressed. These unresolved emotions act as barriers to emotional closeness. Studies on long-term relationships reveal that forgiveness reduces negative feelings and increases positive feelings toward a partner, which is essential for reconnecting. Forgiving does not mean forgetting or excusing hurtful behavior, but it means releasing the burden of anger and resentment to open space for healing. Couples who practice forgiveness often find that they can communicate more openly and honestly, which leads to renewed emotional bonds. It is also important to address the role of vulnerability. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the willingness to be seen fully, including fears, doubts, and imperfections. As people age, fear of rejection or judgment can make it harder to open up. But psychologists agree that emotional intimacy is built on mutual vulnerability. A study published in Personal Relationships found that couples who share their vulnerabilities experience deeper emotional connection. Creating a safe space where both partners can express their inner feelings without fear of criticism fosters trust. This might mean sharing anxieties about health, aging, or even regrets from the past. When vulnerability is met with empathy, the connection grows stronger. Physical touch is another fundamental element that supports emotional connection. As couples age, physical affection often decreases, but research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships shows that non-sexual touch like holding hands, hugging, or gentle touching releases oxytocin, a hormone that promotes bonding and reduces stress. Regular affectionate touch communicates care and presence even when words fail. It helps couples feel connected on a deeper level. Encouraging couples to maintain physical closeness, regardless of sexual activity, can rebuild feelings of warmth and safety. Rebuilding emotional connection also requires patience and persistence. Change does not happen overnight. Neuroscience tells us that habits are hard to break because the brain creates pathways reinforced over years. However, consistent small acts of kindness, listening, and sharing gradually rewire these neural connections. This is why couples who commit to daily or weekly rituals of connection, such as sharing a cup of tea together or checking in about their day, see long-term improvements in their relationship quality. These rituals act like emotional anchors, providing stability and a reminder of the shared commitment. Sometimes professional support can be a valuable resource. Couples therapy is not just for relationships in crisis. It can be a safe space where both partners learn communication skills, explore underlying issues, and receive guidance on reconnecting. Studies on couples therapy show positive effects on emotional intimacy and relationship satisfaction even in later life. A skilled therapist can help couples identify patterns that contribute to drift and teach practical ways to rebuild trust and connection. Finally, couples must remember that rebuilding emotional connection is also about rediscovering each other as individuals. People change over time. The person your spouse was 20 or 30 years ago is not the same today. Embracing this evolution rather than clinging to old expectations opens the door for a fresh start. Engaging with your partner's current interests, dreams, and challenges creates new points of connection. Research in developmental psychology emphasizes that successful aging couples adapt to change by maintaining curiosity and acceptance toward each other. In summary, rebuilding emotional connection after years of drift is a journey that requires awareness, effort, and compassion. It starts with listening deeply and sharing honestly. It grows through forgiveness, vulnerability, and shared experiences. It is supported by simple physical affection and daily rituals that reaffirm commitment. It benefits from professional help when needed and flourishes when couples accept each other's growth. This process can revive love that feels lost and build a partnership filled with renewed warmth and understanding. Aging together need not mean growing apart. With intention and heart, couples can find their way back to each other.